President Trump thinks is the right thing is to cut rates today, which is not expected. So I think we all get the gist here. Let's play it now to our political panel. Jeannie Sheehan Zaino, Bloomberg Politics contributor, is with us. She's a senior democracy fellow at the Center for the Study of the Presidency and Congress, alongside Maura Gillespie, Republican strategist and founder of Blue Stack Strategies. So, Maura, obviously the president has not been quiet about how he feels about Chairman Powell and the Federal Reserve's policy overall. Does that mean we can expect something explosive and just as critical when the Fed ultimately likely does not do anything to change interest rates less than 1 hour from now?
Yes. Should Jerome Powell not do what Trump wants him to do, I'm sure the president will be on Truth Social and probably walk out to the nearest camera and share his unvarnished thoughts with all of us about how he feels about him. But I think I think the frustration is very clear, not only just with Jerome Powell, but with how the economy is being viewed. You're seeing Republicans obviously tout the fact that the numbers today were better than expected. But I do think that it's a similar problem to what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had during the 24 race, was that they could tell us that the numbers were improving, but the American people did not feel it. And currently, most Americans feel as though they're financially behind. So you can't necessarily just gaslight them into saying, well, it's better than expected and things are going, So it's really important that they recognize that. And so for Trump, when he can't control something, it's better for him to have someone to point to blame, to say, well, if we had been able to lower our interest rates, the economy would be booming and you would be feeling it immediately. So it almost is a benefit to him to have this person to point to blame for people being, unhappy with the current financial situation that they're maybe facing. We're seeing that with not only grocery prices, but also housing. Individual home buyers. Mm-hmm. They can't buy a home. So bigger corporations and companies and investors are being able to scoop up what limited housing there is. That's a problem, and that in the long run, short-term also a problem, but in the long run creates even more financial strain for the American people.
Really interesting take, Maura. I'm wondering your thoughts on this, Jeannie. Do Trumponomics and Bidenomics have something in common where people don't feel so great? It's not reflected in the hard data, but people seem to know better at the kitchen table.
I think so. We did see the Wall Street Journal poll recently where the one thing that is keeping Donald Trump at least up in the polls for his overall approval rating is the economy. So his poll numbers there have not plummeted. They've plummeted on immigration, on the big, beautiful bill, on Epstein, but not yet on the economy. But if we just go back to the interest rates today, there is no question we all want interest rates to come down. Nobody, to Maura's point, wants to be paying this much on interest rates for a mortgage or a car or on credit cards. The problem is not Jerome Powell. It is Donald Trump's chaotic economic policy. And I think what we're seeing here is that Donald Trump is torn. He wants lower interest rates, and yet he has for decades been committed to this tariff fight. And even today, just hours before the Fed is meeting on interest rates, he is saying we're getting 25% on one of our closest allies, India, plus penalties for buying energy from Russia. So the only one Donald Trump has to blame for interest rates is himself. But of course, he doesn't have Joe Biden to kick around anymore. And so he has turned his fire on Jerome Powell. And it's going to stay there regardless of what Powell did today. I guarantee if they lowered him today, which they likely won't, he would still come out and eviscerate Powell for not lowering them enough.
Well, Jeannie, to your point on the president's policies perhaps leading to the interest rate policies that he is not in favor of, it's actually echoing what we heard from the ranking member of the Senate Banking Committee, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren on Massachusetts, on Balance of Power last night. This is what she told us.
There is exactly one person who is responsible for keeping those interest rates high, and that's Donald Trump. Jerome Powell said last month that he would have urged the Fed to lower interest rates last February, but for the chaos that Donald Trump has been causing over tariffs. If Donald Trump really wants to see interest rates come down, then stop creating so much chaos around tariffs.
So as we consider the uncertainty that there is around tariffs, Maura, could that actually, though, come to in large part an end this week. He says August 1st is it. That's final. This is the deadline. The tariffs are going into effect as expected. Is this the moment we actually get clarity, or do you think that there could be another kicking of the can?
I think that with how many countries have not come to the table and negotiated, it's going to be a big moment for Donald Trump. He knows this whole taco thing is grating on him. He doesn't like the idea that he is wishy-washy when it comes to something that, as you pointed out, he has cared about so deeply for so long. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. But I do think that for those who are in his cabinet and recognize that this could be really damaging to, again, we've talked for a long time about these short-term pains for the long-term gains. The amount of pain that will cause for everyday Americans who the tax, the tariff is going to be on the American consumer. So I do think there's going to be some negotiating that happens on August 1st, but it may be one of those things where, I mean, even with the EU saying that they're going to invest, the 600, it just, where is that really going in, and can they even do that? There may be some of those kind of other things to tout. And maybe the tariff isn't as robust as he's making it out to be. Maybe it's not the 15%. Maybe there's some sort of other conversation that gets shared about, investments and things of that nature to balance out the fact that he's not going to enforce the 15%. That's, a theory that could potentially happen on Friday. But really the only person that knows how he's going to react to any of the news on Friday is Donald Trump.
Jeannie, I